After a tough game against world-ranked number 9 Japan, the Gilas Women look ahead to their final game for the group stage of the FIBA Asia Cup. Now joining us to break down our national team's performance is a former Gilas Women's member herself, Danica Jose. Welcome back to the game. It's been a while.
Hi guys.
All right,
It's been a while.
Okay, Danica. So before we talk about the game, before we talk about the bright spots for our Gilas Women, let's talk about this Japan team that they just faced and the context. You've gone up against all these teams, and how tough is it to go up against a Japan team?
Well, aside from the fact that they're number 9 in the world, they're actually number 1 in Asia. They're the 5-time defending champions in the FIBA Asia Cup. So you know that it's not a walk in the park to go up against a high-caliber team like Japan.
95-57 was the final score in favor of Japan. Again, not a flattering scoreline by any means. If you look at the positives, the Philippines did lead in terms of points in the paint, but then that really isn't the game of Japan scoring in the inside. You take a look at this Philippine team, though. The hope is that they don't get relegated. The hope is that if they win against Chinese Taipei, they stay in the top tier of Asia competition. Do you think that this team has what it takes to even avoid a relegation game by beating Chinese Taipei?
I think they have a higher chance to win the game tomorrow against Chinese Taipei, given that we're a much closer matchup against the powerhouse teams like Australia and Japan. So when they go up against Chinese Taipei, it's really a must-win for them to be able to avoid that relegation match against Lebanon, most likely. So if they win against Chinese Taipei, the setup will be going up against the opponent on the other bracket, which might be New Zealand. So that's another tough team. But of course, you gotta think one game at a time first before we move on.
I mean, that's what Jack actually told me before they flew out. That that's really the goal. Is not to get relegated to the lower division. I mean, let's talk about the bright spots for our Gilas Women. April Bernardino, Jack Animam, and Vanessa De Jesus played splendid for Japan in terms of their numbers. Talk about them and what they have to build on moving forward in the next game.
I think it's a good thing that Vanessa De Jesus wasn't the only player contributing to the game earlier against Japan. Comparing it to Australia, it was really Vanessa trying to get everyone involved. And you see at the start of the game, Japan was leading by only 2 points in the first 5 minutes. So you know that we were still within the game, and slowly the Japan team was able to break away in the first half. But if you look at the bigger picture, you'll see that there were glimpses of brilliances from these players. The veterans were able to step up. April Bernardino, 12 points. Jack Animam, I think 8 points and 7 rebounds. So you know that they're going to be contributing, not just Vanessa. So I think it's going to be a collective effort, especially for tomorrow.
April Bernardino, again, you mentioned 12, 8, and 2. Jack Animam, 8 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. And I think we have to focus a bit on Vanessa De Jesus because the quality that she brought to the team is really another level. It feels like she's elevating the team.
She is
definitely
yes.
to a new level. What does she bring to the team apart from the numbers? Because it feels like she adds something more in terms of an edge to this Gilas Women's team.
I like her mentality in one of her interviews. I think what she mentioned was, I'm not here to score, to bring the numbers, but I'm here to get the team involved. So as much as I can, even if they weren't making their shots, even if there were a lot of lapses yesterday, she just mentioned that I'm gonna keep giving the ball to them. I'm gonna keep pushing them to actually raise the bar and be on the same level as her. So that mentality to involve everyone actually reveals who she is as a character.
And how special is that as a player, Danica? Having a player like that who's, probably played in the highest level among all of her teammates and, trying to involve everyone.
That's right. Playing for Duke Division 1 and NCAA was really glaring in terms of the level of competition that she was bringing for FIBA Asia. And I think it's also bringing a whole lot of confidence in terms of the players, her teammates, to actually raise the bar na dito tayo pupunta, we are capable of winning, we are capable of playing as a team, because they've only been together for like a week and a half. So imagine the chemistry that they have off the court to get to know Vanessa as a player or even as just a teammate of the court. So at least it's something that they're trying to leverage on, given the experience and the competition that she's been through in Duke.
But she could always say that she wants to create, but she's a bucket. She's a hooper. She can score. Do you think this is going to be the way for Gilas Pilipinas to win against a team like Chinese Taipei?
Well, with what we saw yesterday against Australia, the ball shouldn't just revolve around Vanessa. Because if for sure the Chinese Taipei team have scouted the Gilas team already, they know that Vanessa will be a threat from beyond the arc. She can pass, she can score, she can shoot. So it's going to be a challenge for her to make sure that she's going to draw the defenders, make sure that they involve the shooters as well, and also on Jack from inside the paint.
You know, the amazing thing is that even if you watched the Japan game a while ago, if all the fans could actually go through it again on Pilipinas Live, you take a look at that, it felt like Vanessa was already scouted. As soon as she crossed the halfway point, as soon as she took a couple of dribbles, a double team suddenly blitzed her. Probably see something similar against Chinese Taipei. Do you think that right now, knowing that there's so much more gravity for Vanessa de Jesus, that Coach Pat now has more options into creating an offense that could get over Chinese Taipei?
That's right, and I think that this is the perfect time for the shooters to actually step up, because the players like Vanessa will open the floor for these shooters. When she drives, she kicks it out. Castillo will be there, Pontes will be there, Camille Clarin should be ready as well. So it really opens up the floor whenever Vanessa de Jesus tries to draw up all the
gusto ko
defenders.
maging teammate si Vanessa.
Ako rin.
Hintay lang ako.
You know, you actually can. Okay? Okay.
Baka 20 points si Danica pagkampi niya.
My goodness, pwede. But then, okay, let's lay it all out here. Kasi very tough losses. Australia and Japan, not flattering at all. There's no way to sugarcoat it. How does Coach Pat approach the team? How does he motivate this team to bounce back from performances like that? Sure, they've improved, but the scores still are what they are.
Well, from my experience, Coach Pat has been the perfectionist coach,
sure.
as he is for the previous years, even in NU. And how he is towards his players, it's mostly about personality management.
Yeah.
So when he talks to Afril, it's the same way with how he approaches Jack. So he would really talk to them intently and have like this connection towards these players off the court na, what do we need to do? What do we need to adjust? Or what kind of play are you going to be comfortable in for you to be in a position to score, in a position to create? So he's that type of coach that if you work within the system, you're going to be able to adjust based on what the players think. Kasi sila yung naglalaro sa loob eh. So at least he has that type of insight from those players na I think, Coach, this is what works for me, and medyo nahirapan ako sa ganito, and moving forward for Chinese Taipei, this is, I think, what will work for us in a team. So that kind of relationship, it's not really a one-way relationship na dito tayo, dito masusunod. It's mostly about a two-way thing.
And lastly, talking about the magnitude of this game, you mentioned it. If they actually win this game, they will not have to go to the relegation round, which is their goal. So this is really a big game. Do you think Coach Pat is, sumisigaw na ba si Coach Pat? Because my experience, Coach Pat is kind of that type of a coach.
He's
That's
that
the way
type
he motivates.
He's very traditional, even inside the dugout or during the timeouts. Dinig mo eh. From
I've seen
Australia
it.
to
from experience.
the Philippines.
When Danica closes her eyes, you can still hear Coach Pat. But then, of course, hindi to chess, hindi to checkers, hindi to Scrabble. It's definitely the personalities that matter a lot. Danica, maraming salamat. Really appreciate you. Please come on over more often.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
please. Thank you, Danica.
Thank you so much.
Well, the Gilas Women's will wrap up their group stage against world-ranked 33 Chinese Taipei tomorrow. Tune in live on One Sports and One Sports Plus at 5:30 p.m. to support our national team.